Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Wednesday, November 26, 2025, the day before Thanksgiving, 2 days before Black Friday, and we're hurtling into the last part of this year. Police state by Christmas. I don't think they'll be able to get royal assent on C9 before Christmas, but I've been surprised. I mean, there's 15 sitting days left? Are they going to actually sit into December very long? If they can get this bill passed on December 24th at midnight, they will. They will. They would do stuff like that. Carney doesn't care. He pretends like he cares, but he doesn't care. So it's one of those things where I fear, well, not fear. I hope that we're going to go into the next year and we will be able to continue to have this lovely Discord that we've had. If not, I'll make my show private. As I've said, I don't think there's a way. Me being skeptical of bad policy and making fun of these people, I don't think they'll be able to arrest me, but they're going to damn well try. And so I hope I'm right about that, and we'll see, because I like to do the show, so I'll keep doing it. Kevin Vung and Ben Mulrooney are going to Israel. Okay. That's a red flag for me, dog. What? You're going to Israel? If you want to work for Canada, cool, then work for Canada. Go to Vancouver and do some outreach there. Go to, there are places across the country that have been destroyed by rampant drugs given by liberals. There are tons of things to do in Canada, but instead you guys are going to Israel? Okay, red flag. Thanks, red flag. Have fun on your vacation while the country burns. See you guys later. UK is arresting farmers for peaceful protest. Reminds me of the convoy. Really does. The footage of it, kind of very reminiscent of the convoy. And they're announcing their budget today. So is Mark Carney harmonizing us with the United Kingdom's schedule for budgets and things? That's weird, right? That's weird. Elections are rigged by the Venezuelan mafia. Oh, the Sun, the Del something of the Sun. It's a big mafia. And man, there is video footage of a whistleblower. It's 16 minutes. I'd never seen it. Talks about Smartmatic, Dominion, Toronto. Basically, they own all of the world governments through these systems. It's wild. And I was like, this is known? People knew this? I can't even believe it. And so it's absolutely wild what's going on. And the elections are rigged. And I think that we're getting closer and closer to that being a known thing, and that will force action to change. Maybe, but maybe not. I hope so. Fingers crossed. Real estate is collapsing further. Toronto condos aren't selling. Shocking. I'm shocked. They want to remove trial by jury in the United Kingdom. That's wild. And I mean, the United Kingdom offers us a window into what might happen here in the future, right? Christmas cull of turkeys in Canada too. I reported 9,000 or 9. There was a 9 in it. A whole bunch of turkeys in the United Kingdom were culled, and 15,000 in Canada will be culled just before Christmas, right? We're a month out. People are thinking about their frozen turkeys. And if you're a farmer who are raising all these turkeys and to have a turkey cull now, yikes, right? That's not so good. And what else? Carney is, hold on, I got to swap this over. Carney is looking at a big cabinet shuffle, apparently. And so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we're going to start with grab bag of governance. First, here is an old Canadian proverb provided to us by Tony. I don't actually know if this is a proverb or anything like that, but it's just good sense here. He says, a country run by banks will always be in debt. Healthcare run by big pharma will never cure disease. A state run by war will never know peace. A nation run by media will never know the truth. Yeah, I think that's true. I read that and I thought, yeah, it's really true. The spin machine continues, and everybody who benefits from that machine has vested interest and incentive to keep it going. Payman's responding to this CBC News article. Headline, calls for a BC MLA to resign or be recalled are growing. What does that mean? Vancouver Quitchelan? I'm getting that terribly wrong. I'm sorry. People who live there. Dallas Brody is under fire for comments around residential schools, right? So they want to remove her. And Payman says, tell me you're trying to remove an elected official without telling me. So the media is getting those pitchforks ready, right? This, my gosh, I laughed and started clapping the first time I heard this. I was listening to it while I was sorting through the rest of the show, and I had to come back and rewatch it. I was like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. So Mark Nixon says Tara Armstrong just torched the NDP. They want to send us back to the Stone Age. She's right. Every NDP energy plan ends with scarcity, blackouts, and blame. NDP laugh at 1BC. In reality, they're laughing at you, dear citizen, while you line up for the food bank. Here is this exchange, and it's great. Here we go.
And that answer is exactly why BC needs not only a new government, but also a new constitution. Our premier believes oil is bad and tribal vetoes are good. But you can't run a province on windmills and drum circles. The reality of this anti-civilizational ideology is that capital flees, prices soar, and its hardworking citizens suffer. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier admit that his government is taking this province back to the Stone Age?
Spoiler, he doesn't admit that. He doesn't. So, right. Here's Dallas Brody, and she's putting forward Canadian flags only to be flown on Parliament and government buildings. And she says, another day, another bill. Today I introduced legislation to ban the display of any flag on provincial property that isn't a Canadian national, provincial, or municipal flag. In Canada, we fly Canadian flags only. And the BC Conservatives, in name only, because they're not really conservatives, voted against this bill. I think there was a meaningful contingent of the Conservative caucus voted against this. Why would you vote against this? You like the public putting up rainbow flags and trans flags? These are flags of conquest. I wish it weren't so, but it seems very, very real that they're putting up flags over institutions they have captured or they have control of. Here's Dallas Brody.
Mr. Speaker, if you want to preserve a nation, you start by preserving its icons and its symbols, the very essence of its heritage. After years of anti-Canadian rhetoric and the talking down of our proud heritage and national excellence, the Canadian flag and the British Columbia flag are now regularly removed and replaced throughout the year with flags that champion certain ideologies and foreign nations. The solution is clear. One BC's Public Flags Display Act will prohibit the flying of any flags on provincial property other than the Canadian national flag, British Columbia's provincial flag, and municipal flags. The Palestinian flag was raised over city halls in Toronto, Calgary, and others elsewhere across Canada earlier this month. Here at our own legislature, a provincial flag was lowered last week and replaced with the transgender flag. This bill will prevent that from ever happening again in British Columbia. Our government and its symbols must represent our people and their heritage, not ideology or foreign states. There is no reason to replace our flags in the name of inclusion. The BC and Canadian flags already include all of us in this glorious country and this wonderful province. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There you go. So it's very true. The trans flag doesn't include me, but the Canadian flag does. The gay LGBT flag doesn't include me. It's exclusive, but the Canadian flag does, or I think it does anyway. Do the oligarchs think it does? Do the oligarchs who run Canada think it does? They don't think it includes me. They think it includes just the political class, and that doesn't include me, unfortunately. Toronto Sun says, Melanie Joly eyes Paris ambassador role as Carney plans major cabinet overhaul. So Mark Carney's going to do a big cabinet shuffle, right, just before Christmas, right? So I don't know, or just in January. I don't know when this is going to happen. But Mel Joly eyes, add Mel Joly's name to the list of Trudeau-era cabinet ministers looking to head for the exits under Mark Carney. So there's a big, long list of Trudeau-era cabinet ministers who are leaving. Bill Blair, Wilkinson, here it is. Chrystia Freeland, Bill Blair, Jonathan Wilkinson, and there were other ones as well. There were a few more who people were having rumors about. So very interesting. I'm not sure if Carney will, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He is placed. He is here to do a job, and he is doing that job. This should have possibly gone after the flag thing, talking about putting up foreign flags and they don't belong in Canada. Here is Matt Walsh, and he's talking about countries and their makeup and how that reflects on the personality of the country. I think it's quite insightful, and it's only 30 seconds. Here we go.
This is why we say import the third world, become the third world. Because the thing that nobody wants to say is that the reason why third world countries are the way they are is because third world people are the way they are. Okay, at the end of the day, your country is a reflection of its people. Every country is, when it comes down to it. Somalia is totally dysfunctional and corrupt because scam and frauds, piracy, this is part of the lifestyle, part of the culture. Bring it over here, you get the same stuff. This is why we say import.
Right, so he's talking about the United States, and he's talking about Somalia, and he's saying if you import a culture that accepts scams and corruption in Somalia, that culture will bleed into the American culture. And so do you think that's analogous in Canada? Do you think that Canada is impacted by this, what he's describing? I think there could be an argument made. I think you could certainly make a good argument that, yes, we are in fact impacted by that, right? Here is the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms, and it says, the Ontario Court of Justice will hold a hearing at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, November 26th at 161 Elgin Street, Ottawa, regarding the Crown's attempt to permanently seize Big Red, the 2004 Kenworth long-haul truck relied upon by Peaceful Freedom Convoy protester Chris Barber and his family trucking business. Constitutional lawyer Diane Magus, who represents Mr. Barber and is funded by the Justice Centre, is opposing the forfeiture. Mr. Barber said, Big Red is how I put the food on the table. I followed every instruction police gave me during the protest, and I never imagined the government would try to take the truck I rely on to earn a living. So yeah, pretty wild stuff. Here's the Justice Centre with another thing. And this hearing is supposed to be starting right now, 10 o'clock on the 26th, right? Yeah, 10 a.m. on the 26th. That's right now. So I hope everything goes well for Mr. Barber and Big Red. Justice Centre says judges in too many cases are protecting non-citizens from the consequences of their criminal conduct on their status in Canada. In doing so, they're flying in the face of what Parliament and the Supreme Court have directed. And they are adding a growing sense among Canadians that judges are at times a law unto themselves. Our institutions are cracked. I don't trust any of them. And I was very clear about that. And trust in them harder is not going to convince me that I should abandon my skepticism that they're working for us, because they haven't given me any reason to. Here's Dr. Leslyn Lewis. I want to talk about the pipeline here. You know what? I'm going to jump this down here because I want to get the pipeline stuff done, and I got to go. I've got some stuff going. People were messaging me. I got to look at that. Here is Andrew Scheer, and him and Pierre Poilievre are calling out exactly what I've been saying about this pipeline. It's not going to get done. It's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because it's designed not to happen. EB and all of these people, the First Nations people, have an incentive to stop this pipeline. And I think that Carney knows that. And so they're going to stop the pipeline. I've got video of Dave Eby at the end here. And I've got a South Park joke to make as well. But Dave Eby at the end basically saying, like, if they get a $50 billion, I think, yeah, $50 billion pipeline, we want a $50 billion. And he stops short of saying a pipeline and he goes to project. But like, we want something too. It's like, you guys are ridiculous. You don't even know what you want, right? You're just a toddler. Breaking, says Andrew Scheer. Carney just announced that the NDP government of British Columbia will have a veto on any proposed pipeline to the West Coast. Carney will keep pumping oil to the United States at a discount instead of exporting our oil to the rest of the world. Shameful. Here's Pierre Poilievre asking for a date. When does construction start on our pipeline, Mr. Prime Minister?
Speaking of Canadian interest, this Prime Minister opposed the pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific, just like his Liberal predecessor blocked that same pipeline. On Thursday, he'll make one of his grand announcements, waving around a meaningless so-called memorandum of understanding. If it's anything other than a public relations ploy, why won't he say, on what date will construction begin on a pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sometimes the question reveals everything. The memorandum of understanding that we're negotiating with Alberta creates necessary conditions, but not sufficient conditions, because we believe in cooperative federalism. We believe the government of British Columbia has to agree. We believe that First Nations right holders in this country have to agree and support. All stakeholders have to back. That's one Canada.
So all stakeholders get a say. So all stakeholders get a veto. All stakeholders get a veto. That was difficult to get my tongue around. Apologies. And so that's not how you get things built. Anybody at the table opposed? Okay, you're opposed? Okay, well, I guess that's the end of the meeting. See you guys later. See you next week when we try and get something done, but can't because everybody's got a veto, right? A veto. Keith says, despite the memorandum of understanding, the reality is this: Alberta's premier shouldn't have to plead with Ottawa to build normal infrastructure like pipelines. That dependence is proof Canada's system is failing. Albertans deserve the freedom to shape our own future. And yeah, right? Like, we should be able to get these things built. In fact, when the money that they're making is apparent, we should be doubling and tripling down and getting as much money out to these as much product out to these things. Like if you can put in $10 and get out $1,000, then you do that all day, every day. And if you can put in, like if you have $10 more to put in, you don't sit on that $10 to make $1,000. You put that $10 in, man. You put it all in. You're like, listen, let's get this thing going. Roll, 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 right? Like it's Alex Hormozy, right? Scale. If it's working, then you triple and you say, oh, look at this pipeline. You know, we built this pipeline, and now that it's functional, it cost us the build cost, and it costs us this amount to run. And after that, it's printing money like crazy. You triple down on that, right? But we're not. We're arguing about ridiculous things. And Carney's basically got a poison pill, and he knew it was a poison pill. So we're, like the other day, I said, they're letting us grow food so they can slaughter the food. And the reason they're letting us grow food is because if they didn't let us grow food, we'd get real suspicious. And when people started starving, we'd say, listen, people wouldn't be starving if we if we were allowed to grow food. And so we're going to start growing food. And so in this way, they take control of the food and they run the food, and it's a grift. Keith Wilson, again on the pipeline, he says, Carney's own wording is revealing. If the memorandum of understanding does not create sufficient conditions, he's conceding that it doesn't provide the commitments needed to ensure a pipeline is ever built. Either he's talking nonsense or the memorandum of understanding is a waste of time for Albertans. It's a waste of time for Albertans. It is. That's what it is. Yes. Keith Wilson says, let's be clear. Carney's necessary conditions are actually new barriers to a pipeline that do not exist under the Constitution. Carney is making it harder, not easier. And again, if people were genuinely trying to work towards the perfect solution or a better solution than what we've got, we wouldn't see this crap. But nobody's working towards that. They're making up hoaxes in order to continue this green grift and keep control. And again, I think it's all about control, right? Like it has absolutely nothing to do with them wanting the best for Canada. Here's Polyev again. He says, Carney wants to block the pipeline without taking the blame. So he's handed EB a pipeline veto that violates our Constitution. Only the federal government and the Prime Minister have the constitutional power to approve interprovincial pipelines. He must get out of the way now so builders can build. He's not going to get out of the way. He's allowed EB and the First Nations, all of the First Nations, everybody at the table to have a chance to speak out.
Speaking of Canadian interest, this Prime Minister opposed the pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific, just like his Liberal predecessor blocked that same pipeline. On Thursday, he'll make one of his grand announcements waving around a meaningless so-called Memorandum of Understanding. If it's anything other than a public relations ploy, why won't he say, on what date will construction begin on a pipeline from Alberta to the Pacific?
Sometimes the question reveals everything. The Memorandum of Understanding that we're negotiating with Alberta creates necessary conditions, but not sufficient conditions, because we believe in cooperative federalism. We believe that...
I know we watched this already, but I just think it's worth going over. He is using weasel words to get away with this, I think. Here's Kirk, and he says, complete waste of time. Mark Carney, the memo of understanding, necessary conditions, but not sufficient. So we know that that's why no one wants to invest in these conditions. So we're not actually going to get that pipeline that we think we're going to get, right? That's not actually going to happen. Mary L says, this will take years to go through the courts. So, yep. CTV News says energy ministers to brief BC Liberals on expected Alberta pipeline deal. It's never going to happen, man. If it gets built, I'll be shocked. Here's Dave Eby. I've got to say goodbye to the stream because I've got this South Park thing coming up. I'll just play it. It's a good joke. Here's Dave Eby. And no, they're gonna ding me. I'm gonna have to say goodbye to the stream. I actually have things I have to respond to, so I have to pause the show and respond to the things. So I'll do that too. Here's Dave Eby on this. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. We'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, just give me a second. I want to do this joke properly. So we'll stop streaming and the stream. All right. So here's Dave Eby talking about this pipeline. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Dave Eby, how much is this pipeline going to happen? It's never going to happen. Here he is saying it's never going to happen.
I do not believe that Alberta should have access to a $50 billion taxpayer-funded pipeline unless